Welcome, everyone. I just want to thank you for joining us for today's session, especially before the busy holiday season. We're going to be talking about choosing the right data capture solution and how to scale smarter with Salesforce and Youreka. Before we get started, if you have any questions during the session, please go ahead and add them to the chat. We'll have a Q&A session at the end with Bill and Gary. So I'm Eric Ward, VP of Sales here at Youreka. I'm joined by Gary Staum, our Senior Director of Solution Engineering, and Bill Craig, our Director of Professional Services. Between the three of us, we've had the privilege of working with hundreds of Salesforce customers, organizations just like yours, all looking for better ways to capture, manage, and act on data inside Salesforce. And it's such a timely conversation. With the rise of AI and automation across, multiple industries, data quality has never really been more important. So to truly capitalize on AI's potential, organizations need structured, trusted, and accessible data throughout their operations, and that all starts with how you capture it. So our goal today is to help you think strategically about how your data capture approach, where you are now and where you might be heading and what options make the most sense for your team. Because we know every organization is at a different stage, we want to make sure you leave today with the tools to continue that process. In addition to the insights we'll share, we'll be providing two resources afterwards to help you take the next step. First is a guide to choosing the right data capture solution, which expands on today's framework and includes real-world examples. And the second is an interactive data capture assessment designed to help you pinpoint the right approach for your organization. So think of today as kind of starting point, those resources as a roadmap for really what comes next in your organization. So with that being said, let's dive in. Gary, since you're out there with customers every day, what are you seeing in the field right now and when it comes to data capture challenges?
Thanks, Eric. It's a really interesting question, and we are really hearing everything across the spectrum. Oftentimes, we'll hear that people are going down this AI journey and they're trying to capture all the data that they possibly can. Everybody's doing it in different ways. It's not uncommon for us to hear that sometimes they're not even capturing some of that data. Other times, we're hearing that they're handwriting notes, sometimes notes that don't even get back into the system afterward. A lot of times we're hearing Excel spreadsheets and PDFs and just capturing that information and then trying to transpose that information afterward when they get back to the desk in the back office. And you can only imagine some of the challenges with those types of processes, especially if you're trying to build AI around it. That data is going to be mission critical. And so recently we've been hearing a lot of stories about customers piloting AI, and they've had some unfortunate first passes at AI, and they've been disappointed at some of the results, and they've complained about some hallucinations that the AI is coming up with. And I think a lot of that is based on the data and the structure that is lacking, that is being handed off to AI. So one really funny story that I want to tell, Eric, is around, it's the holiday season right now. So we're all using large language models, and I oftentimes will ping GPT. And today, for instance, I was looking for a great cookie recipe for the holidays, and the models have been taught to make its best guess off of the data that it knows and the context that you provided it with. So that's great when we're trying to make a cookie recipe. I want to know, based off of the ingredients that I have, what's going to be the most desirable recipe, and here's my dietary restrictions. And then I wanted to scour the internet. I wanted to look at other articles, other PDFs, dig into documents and find out what the most appropriate recipe is going to be, and then suggest it to me. Now, if I'm working on something else like an electric panel, I probably don't want AI to make a guess because the proper voltage and the right gauge wire, that all matters. And it can cause a fire if I don't know exactly what the right solution is. So I would really challenge the team today, and Eric, the next time that you start to ping ChatGPT, for instance, ask it to not make a guess. And the results are going to be really interesting. As you ask its question, say, don't make a guess. And like we mentioned a second ago, the model has been trained to make its best guess off of data that it has. But if it doesn't know the exact answer, it will have to be honest with you based on your prompt. So if it doesn't know the answer, it will tell you, I don't know the answer, if you tell it to not guess. Alternatively, it will make its best guess off of the information that it has. And I think that's why we're seeing a lot of hallucinations out in the field today when we're trying to go live. A lot of people aren't ready for AI because their data is not ready for AI. So in terms of ways of getting that data ready, first and foremost, you have to capture the data. You're going to want to digitize it, and you're going to want to keep it on platform so that AI can analyze that data and has it at the ready, but keeping it structured as well in a consistent structure so AI knows where to go and it doesn't have to guess, making its best guess to answer your question along the way. So those are a couple of really key items that'll help prepare people for the best AI type solution, getting that data on platform, digitizing it, making it available anywhere on and offline, and having consistent structure, all stored in the Salesforce platform are going to be key to getting good AI results.
That's such a great point, Gary. Everyone's really talking about, the AI transformation, but very few people are really talking about how, the foundation or the structure of that data that's required to not get a hallucination. So maybe we can unpack how organizations can evaluate where they are kind of in that journey now.
Yeah, it's a great point. We've tried to give it some thought up front so that we can provide customers and prospects with guidance up front, give them kind of a framework and find the right path for them. So here's just a quick snippet of what our suggestion of what that framework might look like. For those of you that are using Salesforce Field Service today, use data capture to capture that solution, especially if you've got simple forms, if you've got a low number of forms. Those are great ways to get started to digitize those processes. Um, in the event that you have more complex forms, lots of forms, we'll talk a little bit more about some of those other solutions, but a really nice starting point is getting that data in Salesforce, especially if you have Salesforce Field Service. Use data capture to capture that information, store it on platform. That way your AI model can hunt and peck for the data from your work order line items, etc. That data is available. It's included in the Salesforce Field Service platform, and it's available on and offline. Now, in the event that you have some more complex needs, and if you've had success with data capture, that's great. Use data capture for the areas that's working really well for you. If you're using it for your simple safety checks, continue to use it. As you explore that global rollout and you're involving more complex use cases and many, many more use cases, if you'd like to build quickly, accelerate fast, and build a scalable solution, you can leverage the work that you've done already with data capture and sprinkle in a little Youreka. These aren't mutually exclusive. You have the ability to use both. And they're both Salesforce native. They're both available on and offline. And you don't have to scrap the work that you've done already. You can leverage that work and use Youreka to accelerate faster for that global scale. And then as you want to take that even to the next level, that's where we would recommend a Youreka. The ability to use AI upfront to build forms quickly and easily. It has a structure that's already predetermined with a data model so that you can leverage AI to analyze answers. And that will allow you to build forms very quickly and easily, give you data, next best recommendations, even while you're out in the field to do those break fixes. Available everywhere, and it doesn't even require Salesforce Field Service. So for those of you that aren't using Salesforce Field Service, you can use Youreka. For those of you that are using Salesforce Field Service and you've got new complex use cases, many use cases, lots of forms, if you've got Excel spreadsheets with calculations, this is the great strategic upgrade. Use that Youreka in those cases.
Yeah, we see that a lot, Gary. The concept of these really complex forms with hundreds and hundreds of questions in them, lots of conditional visibility that's needed, the need switch between translations or push out lots of translations, Youreka is a great option in those cases.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Gary and Bill, for the tidbit there. Each tier kind of represents a level of data maturity and AI readiness. And you'll find all this framework in our data capture solution guide, which we'll send you after the session. And if you'd like more of a personalized recommendation or data capture assessment, we can walk you through a step-by-step process. Bill, can we bring this to life? Can you share an example of a customer maybe who's improved their data capture process and really seen a major impact?
Yeah, one example is a large regional electric utility that we work with. They've got lots of data. You can see, 1 million utility poles and trees, 100,000 plus miles of lines. They're working in both urban areas and wilderness areas. So they've got a huge need for offline data, and for that offline data to be configurable and changeable on the fly. So the solution for them was to use Youreka with lots of dynamic logic, with the ability to support hundreds of thousands of records offline. They're generating forms ad hoc out in the field, and all of this data is all standardized. They're using checklists, radio buttons, numeric values, along with informed formulas, so that they can determine, for example, whether or not a tree needs to be trimmed along the line. And then they're going out and actually doing that work and performing their QA, all ad hoc, all offline within these wilderness areas. Ultimately, this means that they've got standardized data. That data makes its way into SAP, and they're able to do all of their analytics and make better predictions for their fire seasons, and to follow up with regulatory compliance needs, all using Youreka in a huge and constantly changing environment.
Yeah, it's a great example of data capture really enabling kind of the true value for AI.
It is, yeah. Another one that I work with is they're a global manufacturing company. So they've got lots of paper forms. They're all in spreadsheet format. So a need to not just see a single or double column layout, but Youreka supporting a spreadsheet layout for them. We're helping to manage their duplicate data entry needs to get down to a single point of data entry, which eliminates their issues with poor data quality. They're working in lots of different countries, so they need to be able to develop and push out different form templates with multi-language support, and do that quickly. So Youreka helps them reduce the cycle to get forms delivered out there quickly for them. So the solution, again, is that spreadsheet style data. They've got lots of mobile form translations that they're using. And then they also have, they're handing forms off from technician to technician, because in many cases, they've got a 24-hour maintenance cycle. So the outcome for them is ultimately rapid form deployment. They've got reduced documentation time. And then there's, on a global scale, they're standardizing their data collection.
Yeah, that's great. Youreka, just really doesn't just digitize forms, but it really builds kind of that foundation of data that you can trust.
Yeah,
Gary, do we want to? Oh, go ahead, Bill.
One other thing I wanted to mention, we were talking about this yesterday with Gary, is that in the world of AI, things are changing really rapidly. And one of the things that Youreka allows is for you to get new templates out there quickly. The development cycle, the ability to get started with building templates, it's quick and easy. There's a drag and drop interface. So companies can adapt to changing AI needs quickly by shortening that development cycle with Youreka.
Very cool. Yeah, that's a great point. Gary, do we want to maybe jump into a demo and do a visual walkthrough for the attendees?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Bill, you've told some great stories around how Youreka can really make that strategic upgrade successful, allow people to accelerate quickly. Let me show you a couple of examples This is our mobile device, and what we're going to do, I'll click through a couple of forms here, show you some of the latest and greatest. We'll go back to desktop and show all that rich data automatically living in Salesforce. And the beautiful part about all of that is that it is a predetermined data model that AI has already been trained to know. So it really helps accelerate that curve in terms of trying to prepare for AI readiness. So for today, I'm going to visit that global energy organization, and I've got a couple of forms that I'm going to click through. The first one is going to be an assembly robot. Now, this is a really complex asset. Whether I know exactly what I have to do or not, uh, is really what we can build directly inside of the form. So, complex process requires complex guidance, especially in that retiring workforce that we're seeing on a regular basis nowadays. All I have to do is simply read the form, answer questions, and it will guide me through that process. We can have any sort of guidance here, including static imagery or animated GIFs that show me exactly what asset I'm supposed to be working on today to validate that there might be 20 assets. And this is a great way of making sure I'm doing the right work at the right time and equipping me with the right data to make sure that I'm executing and driving as much efficiency as possible. Now, first and foremost, as we get started, we want to make sure that everybody goes through all of their safety checks to make sure that at the end of the day, we can return home to our family after we've completed all of that asset work. Now, you'll notice the form itself is just guiding me through that process depending upon how I answer. So here, for instance, if we wanted to pull some existing data because this is a complex asset, and I'm not sure of the exact specifications, I can click into embedded PDFs and see those torque requirements, or even inspections that we've had last week or last month. We can see exactly how that asset had performed or the work that had been done so that we can pick up right where we had left off in the past. I'll go through and indicate a couple of items that we had noted here. And one of the newest, latest, and greatest features we've all seen inside of Youreka, you can capture photos and annotate on them. We can now pull open our camera and snap a quick 15-second video to tell what it looks like behind that panel or behind that gauge. That way, it'll store that information in Salesforce, and everybody can instantly see that information at their fingertips, that information that I captured out in the field. Here's a real nice example. Bill had mentioned those complex tables. We can embed imagery and we can have calculations firing along that way as well. So if you've got those Excel spreadsheets and you're thinking 20 columns, 20 rows, no problem. You can build all that information out directly inside of the form. I won't click through every single item, but I just wanted to mention that there's a lot of rich feature and functionality that can be built in that helps us guide ourselves through that process to make sure that we get that asset up and running as quickly as possible. There's also the ability to add in lines. So as I was inspecting our assembly robot today, we noticed that it had some grinding with the articulating arm. So I'm going to add in a brand new bearing here and even start to build out a quote for the work that I've done. We can see that it had already pulled from a record in Salesforce. I added a new record, and this is all available on or offline. We'd be able to look up any of those records. Now that we've got the asset up and running, I'm going to close this out and submit. That'll store everything back in Salesforce. If we're in the offline state, that's going to just capture everything locally on the device. And then when we do return to service, it pushes all that information right back into Salesforce for us.
I think what you're capturing here, showing here, Gary, is so great and bears repeating that you can make your technicians an expert simply by carefully guiding them through the experience using the form. So, basically with step-by-step instructions that, again, can make your technician, your inspector, an expert in the field immediately.
Yeah, I love that. And for even those technicians that are experts in the field, there's always some other items that perhaps get overlooked. As I'm filling this form out very quickly, because I know what the process is and I'm doing it on a regular basis, because Youreka is AI ready, we can look at that completed form and view any insights that are available. And so this is the AI readiness that Youreka is prepared for. And this is because we have that structured data model that we've already taught AI how to analyze that type of information. It can look through those 1,000 questions that we had in the form and identify any collection of those variables and let me know that perhaps there is, I've got equipment that's available, I've got product available on my truck, and I can break fix today without having to roll a truck next week or create that follow-up work order. That's something that I can automatically leverage AI to analyze all of my questions and answers and then suggest that next best action to give customer the best experience. But great point, Bill. Really appreciate that. One last piece that I wanted to mention is that this is all readily available offline. So here's me going into that offline stage in airplane mode. And you can create new forms. It can inherit values from Salesforce. You can look up records. And you can do this in any language. So as I'm toggling here, my default language is in English. For those global organizations, you can simply toggle the form on mobile or desktop into a different language, and it's going to show you that same type of guidance in whatever language the user prefers or your customer in that case. So if I wanted to put this in front of our customer, we could show them, even in that offline state, all of those different languages to make sure everybody understands exactly the type of work that's being done, and let them know that we're going to do some break fixing today. Here's the cost that's associated with it to get them up and running as quickly as possible. Now, all of that rich data automatically is pushed back into Salesforce. So I'll refresh the screen just so you can see that completed form. And again, our AI discoveries that are firing here on the right-hand side, assessing all of our questions and answers, making those next best actions, that can create the follow-up work orders, identify cross-sell, upsell opportunities, service packages, and so on and so forth. And at any point, my back office can see any of the work that I've contributed. They have a full carbon copy here back on desktop. They can even have that edit experience. So if I had missed a question and perhaps they knew a question or answer, they have the same type of guided experience along that way. And they're able to save that information, finalize that form, and it can be readily available on desktop, on mobile, as we saw, directly inside of Salesforce Field Service, the community experience in that console as well for your support, contact centers, all available any of those different places. Now, that's a lot. And that we showed a lot of complexity inside of those forms. And it's great to accelerate that AI readiness. But for those of you that aren't even ready for AI, if you're doing pen and paper today to capture that data out in the form, it may sound like a daunting task to get from the beginning stage to what we've demoed here, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. And the reason it doesn't have to be is because, you guessed it, we can use AI to accelerate that development cycle. So let me show you, this is our template agent, and this is a tool that allows us to create that AI ready structure inside of Salesforce quickly and easily. So we can leverage AI to build out those solutions and do so in any language that we like. So here's a quick example. I'm going to hand off a manufacturing asset safety checklist, and I'm going to ask it to translate it in Spanish. You're gonna see that my Spanish isn't the best here, but ultimately what we're gonna see is a PDF being handed off to help accelerate that cycle of creating a digitized process. It understands our data model in Salesforce, and it will create this checklist based on the same structure. It'll scour through, identify those questions and answers, group them into the different sections, identify those pick list values, and translate it for me in Spanish, as we're seeing on the right-hand side. So I'll give you a quick comparison side by side here, but you can see my general information. It's got all of the data points that I want to collect up there. It's even identified the different type of questions that I want to make available. So here's a date question. It's identified that it should be, in fact, a date questions type, and it's created that for me with the same type directly inside of Salesforce. Here's my pick list where it's identified the pick values and translated those. And of course, you can see all of those other questions with the yes, no answers created for me. So a great way, Bill had mentioned it earlier. Here's seeing it in practice. If you're not quite AI ready today, this is a great way of accelerating that curve. Take your PDFs, your Excel spreadsheets, hand them off to our AI solution here to create those form templates. It'll get you 90% of the way there, and then we can polish it up with any sort of logic and content that we want to embed into the solution, and then we can put it in the hands of your users in a matter of minutes.
And just to add to that, Gary's showing here on the right side of his screen, our template builder, you can see it's an easy to use drag and drop interface. So once you've got your data in there, you're dragging things onto the frame, moving them around. Everything's easy to work with from that perspective.
It really is. That's a great point, Bill. It's built for the business user. So when we were talking about those 3 different tiers, data capture is a great place to start with. That's all built inside of Salesforce setup. It requires system administrators to make those changes. This is built for the business user to drag questions onto the canvas, to build at scale very quickly and easily. So when you need to make that change to a question, or you want to drop in a new question, or if you want to clone a form template, this is something that you can build and accelerate very quickly with. Beautiful. So just to round everything out, we went on quite the journey there. And then this wrapped everything up with a demo. But as you're preparing for AI readiness, digitize those solutions. Make sure you're capturing it, and make sure you're capturing it on Salesforce platform. Those integrations, it can create complications, especially as you're capturing data in different silos and different objects, etc. Make sure you digitize those processes, capture it directly inside of Salesforce. And then depending upon the number of forms, the complexity of the forms, the different languages, there's a solution that's appropriate for you. If you want to take it up a level, Youreka allows you to accelerate that build very quickly and easily. It can help you manage that complexity. Great for those global solutions where you have tons of forms with lots of complexity. Think of those Excel spreadsheets with lots of formulas and a lot of guidance, the logic that we had seen directly inside of the demo.
Thanks, Gary. That's a really great illustration of how Youreka really turns everyday data capture into intelligent, connected processes. Before we get to Q&A, I'd like to wrap up with a few key takeaways. So first one, AI can't thrive without trusted structured data. The second being structured data starts with how you capture it. And finally, Salesforce and Youreka really give you the flexibility, governance, and intelligence needed to scale smarter and move faster. So if you continue exploring this, again, we'll send you those 2 follow-up resources, our guide to choosing the right data capture solution, which expands on today's framework and includes real examples, and our interactive data capture assessment, which gives you a personalized recommendation for your organization. These resources are really designed to help you evaluate your current approach and build a foundation of data that your business and your AI can trust moving forward. So with that being said, let's see. I think we've got a few questions here, but I've posed these to both of you. Firstly, do I need to have Salesforce Field Service to use Youreka?
You don't. So data capture is a Salesforce native solution for those that are using the field service cloud inside of Salesforce. If you, like we'd mentioned a second ago, if you have those complex use cases, many use cases, that's where we can really take it to the next level and make sure that you're AI prepared. Youreka has that drag and drop template builder. It's embedded with AI throughout the experience to make sure that you are in fact ready and you can build for that global solution. But you do not need Salesforce Field Service to use Youreka. It can, and it also can work with your Salesforce Field Service. So if you've got success with data capture, you can continue to use those data capture solutions, and then you can layer Youreka on top of it to make that strategic growth thereafter.
Nice. Second question here. What does a typical rollout look like, and how long does it take to start utilizing Youreka's features?
I can take that one. So, typically what we see right out of the gate is that people get really excited because Eureka is so easy to develop and implement. We will see customers get right in and start developing their templates immediately. What we do like to do is have them step back and go through. We've got a Enlighten Academy out there so that you can get trained up on how to use Eureka. Because while it is drag and drop, there are some things that within the Salesforce world, limits and what have you, that you have to consider. So the Enlighten Academy will help you walk through those steps and how to consider them. We also have a Eureka concierge that we just pushed out there so that you can ask any questions um, and get to your answers in terms of how to develop it. So typically we'll see it'll take a month or two to work through all of your form lifecycle, form template lifecycle considerations. If you're using advanced PDF, setting that up. A lot of customers like to. One of the things that's great about Eureka is you can use CSS to configure and make your forms look exactly like you would like to see them. So all of that, we've got extensive knowledge articles out there available to get working on those. So in addition to that, if you're using a Eureka Success Plan, our professional services team will be there to meet with you weekly, make sure that you're understanding the form lifecycle, the considerations that you need to think about. So it is a relatively easy process to get started. And typically, like I said, takes about a month or two to get it up and running.
Awesome, Bill. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
A couple more here. Can Salesforce Data Capture and Youreka coexist, or is it an all or nothing?
I'll take this one, Bill. You can certainly use both solutions in tandem, especially if you've had success with data capture in the past. Keep using that solution, and you can layer on Youreka as you've identified those newer complex use cases. And if you don't have Salesforce Field Service, you can still use Youreka in that case. But in either case, you can explore both or working with them in tandem or either. Totally up to you.
Nice. Gary, it looks like someone attended our theater session at Dreamforce for this question. What is data capture voice to form feature, and is that available in Youreka?
So Data Capture has recently released this solution where you can communicate to your form, and it will in normal language, and it'll pipe that into answers within the form. Just like you had mentioned in Dreamforce, Youreka also has the same type of technology coming out. Youreka takes it to the next level where it's conversational. So your form, you have the ability to push a button and communicate to the form. The form will also communicate back to you, indicating what required questions you've missed, and will help you navigate along that form. Both solutions are great for hands-free. As you're looking under the panel or under the hood, it's a great way of communicating directly to the form and it doing its best effort of piping those answers directly into the form. Data capture is a one-way street today where you communicate to the form and it does its best to capture that data per each answer. And then Youreka in the very near future is releasing our field agent, which will be that two-way communication back and forth so you can hands-free navigate throughout the entire form.
I think that's a feature
really.
that our customers are really excited about. That you've got a lot of people out working in the elements, they've got gloves on, getting to their device is difficult, especially while they're in the middle of performing work. So being able to be guided through that step by step, question by question is really exciting.
You took that right off the tip of my tongue, Bill. Really exciting for those customers. No, we were thinking the same thing there. That looks like that's all the questions in the chat right now. If you do have questions moving forward, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Happy to jump on through, show you a more in-depth demo, and answer those questions for you. Just a reminder, you also receive the links to the guide to choosing the right data capture solution and the active data capture assessment in your inbox shortly after we wrap up. Both are great tools to help you evaluate your own data capture readiness and the next steps. And again, if you'd like to go deeper, we'd love to continue the conversation. You can schedule a professional or personal session with Gary, Bill, or myself to talk through your specific use cases, the challenges you have, the goals that you have. We're happy to help you think through the best path moving forward for your organization. So thank you again for taking time joining us today. We look forward to helping you capture your data in business and your AI that your AI can truly depend on. Have a great day. Thank you all.